I do want to point out these couple of the unique key selling points behind FlowTraq that we have learned over the years is what make customers. First one is that this is actually, FlowTraq is the only true full fidelity flow analyzer out there in the market. There's nothing else like it. This tool can keep your flow data in a sessionized format for as long as you're willing to throw disk space at it. So what that means is, if you compare this to Arbor's Peak Flow, to Mazu Profiler, if you compare it to the Lanco product, all those start aggregating very quickly, and they throw the data away because they don't have a scalable way of keeping it. FlowTraq is a different animal. It was designed from a foundation up to be a forensic tool, so it allows you to actually go back and search months and months of data for that one communication with that one IP address there deep down in, in San Juan province that propagated malware and is now going through your entire organization. So FlowTraq is a full fidelity product. It takes the flow data and keeps it so you can do basically arbitrary post hoc filters, and that's useful because it sometimes takes 1, 2, 3, 4 months before you find out what it was that hit you and that you've been infected, that there's a botnet, that some data was exfiltrated, whatnot. And so you can actually go back and look at that. Is there a question?
I just wanted to interrupt and say, as we move forward, let's just go ahead and assume that the folks on the other end of the line have 5+ years of professional incident response experience dealing with APT.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, very good. You're just ready to get going. Okay, so then you already know what behavioral anomaly detection means.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't mean to rush you, and I definitely don't mean to be rude. I'm just thinking about the customer. We've got two. Well, to be completely honest, kind of expensive hourly people sitting here on this call on their dime, so we're just trying to be as conservative with their budget as possible.
Yep.
Okay, you know what I'll do? I'll start talking as quickly as I can, and then you can slow me down when you need to, okay?
Thanks, friends.
Thank you very much.
Okay. I just want to point out to you, there's a couple of different interfaces available. I'm going to only show the various web interfaces that we have here because they're the most powerful way of doing threat intelligence. The desktop application is what, Tony, what you may be used to from the old days. We see a lower and lower adoption rate for that. People find the web interface is much more convenient. Okay. Finally, there is an extensive and well-documented suite of command line tools and JSON APIs if you want to get very geeky and integrate it yourself and whatnot.
It will be at some point. Without a doubt.
Yeah, so hop around the documentation. You guys are smart enough to figure out how that exactly works. Some key specs, FlowTraq is software. It was designed to cluster transparently, so once you start hitting those 100,000 flow updates per second kind of thing, you can start adding servers to it and actually grow your capacity. And in fact, I have found that in the past it often makes sense to buy a bunch of cheaper servers and roll out a side license, a tier license of FlowTraq on them, and buy one very big and powerful server. Because the thing that really matters in analysis speed is the number of memory buses you have, not necessarily the number of processor cores. So there's that. Obviously, support for various flow formats. It's IPv6 compatible, etc. It contains a multi-tenant interface, which I'll show you guys. It might not be necessary for the client you're currently looking at. This you know. This we're going to see all that. We're going to see, yep, there's command line tools. I know this is a screenshot information. Now, this I'm going to do with you guys. This you already know. You understand that flows are growing slower than the number of packets and the number of bytes on the network. It's an important realization. It means that 2 years from now, flow analysis will even be quicker and we'll be able to retain even longer histories than before. You understand why full fidelity is important. It's the arbitrary post hoc filtering you'll find extremely powerful. The clustering is something that I'm personally very proud of. It was a big drive that I led. The thing that is important about clustering is that FlowTraq is effectively arbitrarily able to recurse to other FlowTraq servers. So that means you can have a whole stack. You can have 20 of these boxes, 50 of these boxes sitting out there, all with their own storage, or you use back-end NAS or SAN storage. Each of these machines having 8 cores, 64 gigs of RAM, what have you. You load FlowTraq up on them. You assign one of them as the cluster portal, and you will not be any the wiser except that your queries go 50 times as fast, so you got 50 times the storage. So So I've already logged in.
Yep.
And before we get a little deeper into this, the principles behind FlowTraq are very straightforward. You've already probably seen the filtering capability. Because we've got all these flow records, we can arbitrarily filter. FlowTraq does autonomous system number tagging for you. You just give it, the list we distribute with FlowTraq, so it actually has autonomous system numbers in it. The next version will actually allow you to even view by CIDR blocks. Right now you can obviously filter by CIDR blocks. So you can have pretty much arbitrary filtering and viewing. I know we're on a 10 dot space here, 10.10.0/24. You can do anything you want with that, and you can do it for historic data. So you get arbitrary filtering capabilities. You get arbitrary time selection capabilities, last 3 hours. And you got an arbitrary ability to view, and this is important because it comes back at the threat detection level, to view the data in almost any light you want. So for instance, I can, VLAN pairs based on the number of unique port protocol combinations between them. I can perform that query, and I can see, in our data here, we're obviously
pretty boring there.
Going back, I'm showing you very quickly. Here's the interface through which you can obviously also download this as a CSV. Here are all the raw records, the 7,000, how many were there? Just a little over 7,890 sessions that the query that we just did was based on, right? So if I go ahead and I say, geez, I only want to see traffic where the, let's grab something interesting. The TCP flags had a SYN, but not a FIN, but a reset in them. So let's see how many sessions. Okay, so now that you've seen sort of the basic premise of FlowTraq, these session records that I was showing you are kept for as long as you can dedicate disk space to it. Each record takes about 200 bytes on disk. You can see very easily, in fact, for instance, if I do exporter by sessions or something, and I hit apply, but the exporter that I am using here sees in the last hour, you get this feeling. There's 45,000 sessions in the last hour for our network here. So that's what our exporter sees. So you can very quickly calculate how much disk space, what kind of I/O bandwidth rates you're going to need in order to do that. All right. Dashboard is very straightforward. Changes with every release of FlowTraq. But it does show you a couple of powerful things. You can, for your customer, very easily create arbitrary filter and views and just give them URLs, because everything is just a URL. You have to look at this URL, you know exactly what it means. It's just got an autonomous system number in, namely the one of Facebook, and boom, here you go. This is all the Facebook traffic they saw. Similar things, long duration, low volume flows. It's just a URL. Take a look. It's very simple. You can build them yourself. All right, hopping over to threats.